Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. I just wanted to take a second to invite you to check out my new project, bradcartwright.com. I have created a resource for you as you head to the May 2020 exams. If you're an IB student, an AP student, head on over to bradcartwright.com where you will find video lessons, notes, slides, key terms, practice questions, and other key components to make you feel good before you go to bed before the test, all right? So head to bradcartwright.com, create a new free account. You don't need a credit card to create the account. Check out the free previews and use the coupon code May2020 to receive a discount. And just to give you an idea of what it's like over there, check out the following video. All right, now let's take a look at two very important concepts that are often confused in economics, okay? They're gross domestic product versus gross national product. And if this has confused you in your studies, yeah, welcome to the team, because these are two concepts that are often talked about as if they're the same thing, and they're not at all. Okay, so I'm going to give you a very simple way of remembering the difference between the two, okay? We are going to focus on the D and the N, okay? So, gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is talking about domestic. That means the house, where the economic activity is happening. So, if you want to know the gross domestic product, then you just look at a map and you see Chile and you go, okay, gross domestic product is all of the economic activity that's going on in that geographic location, regardless of where the money ends up afterward. It's just a calculation of all economic activity in a particular geographic or domestic place. Yes, that's it. If you understand gross domestic product, then now when you look at a map of the world, you're going to see all these countries. And basically, instead of looking at the different set of countries, you're going to look at, oh, those are different economies. And in each one of those economies, you could calculate gross domestic product by just going to South Africa and saying, hey, what's all of the domestic activity, economic activity going on right there? Boom. And you would have GDP of South Africa or the United States or England or France or Bangladesh or India or Kenya. Okay? Domestic. As opposed to, you guessed it, gross national product. And what I would tell you there is just imagine that every company from its host country carries a little flag around wherever it goes. So what does that mean? For example, Nike, they make shoes. You might know of them. They make a bunch of other stuff too. But Nike is a company that's based in the United States. And so for gross national product, what you would do is add up all of the economic activity in the whole planet that is taking place for companies that have the American flag, in this case, Nike. Oh, I get it. So, for gross domestic product, you would look at all economic activity in a geographic location. And if the Nike store is in Atlanta, Georgia, then that counts for GDP of the United States. But if you want to calculate the gross national product of the United States, then you would have to take a look at all of the economic activity that Nike is doing in China, in Chile, in Argentina, in Tanzania, in Italy, in Russia, and add that to the gross national product of where? Well, wherever the flags come from the United States. That's massively important. If you just focus on those two things, gross domestic product is a physical location, and gross national product has to do with the nationality of the company, you get it. Done. You could probably move on to the next video. Okay? So, a real life example. There's a place here in Santiago called Mallsport. And at Mallsport, there's Adidas, that's a German company. There's Patagonia, that's a US company. There's Columbia, that's a US company. There's a company called Deutsche, which is a Chilean company. And of course, there's Nike. Okay, so if you want gross domestic product of Chile, and if those were all the stores in Chile, you would add up the economic activity of those 5 stores. And that's it, Chile. But if you want to know of the gross national product of Chile, you couldn't add in Adidas, because that's German, or Nike, because that is from the US, or Patagonia, because that's from the United States, right? But the economic activity that's happening as a result of Deutsche, that's a Chilean company, you would add that, as well as all of the economic activity or income from Deutsche in Peru or in Argentina or Brazil, which is where they also function, okay? So I think you get it. I think you get it. Now, let's look at some more details of gross domestic product and gross national product. Okay, gross domestic product, you've seen this definition. It's the most commonly used measure of a country's national income, right? Gross domestic product, GDP, may be defined as the total of all economic activity in a country, regardless of who owns the productive assets. So, for example, Nike, even though it's a US company that's working in China, counts towards China's GDP because that economic activity took place inside the geographic location of China. Got it? So GDP has to do with physical location, physical location, physical location. This will never be hard for you ever again, okay? Excellent. As opposed to gross national product, which, by the way, is also known as gross national income. It doesn't matter if you count the product or the income. We've already learned that, okay? So a definition of gross national product is the total income that's earned by a country's factors of production, Nike, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Walmart, right? Regardless of where the assets or the actual stores are located. So an example, Nike's profits would now count for the United States, not China, since Nike is a US company that actually owns the company, owns the assets, or owns the actual place, the store, right? So for GDP of China, yes. GDP of China, yes. Those Nike sales and profits matter. They do not count for the United States' GDP. But for gross national product, they do not count for China. They count for where that company's from, the flag that it holds, in this case, the United States, okay? So GNP is equal to GDP plus income earned from assets abroad minus income paid to foreign assets operating domestically. That's a complicated way of already saying what I have said to you, okay? So property income from abroad, that's just income earned from assets held in foreign countries. That's Nike being in China. Net property from abroad. These are econ terms that you need the definitions of. Check out the notes that are associated with this video if you want more clarity on this. It's the difference between income earned from assets abroad minus income paid to foreign assets operating domestically. Good night. Sometimes economists can make the most simple things seem so complicated by putting big words in there. You get it if you understand the difference between the D and the P, okay? I'm sorry, the D and the N. Gross domestic product, gross national product. Therefore, the equation GNP, gross national product, equals GDP plus property income from abroad. Don't worry about that, okay? Keep it simple. GDP, gross domestic product in a physical location. Gross national product has to do with where the companies operate, and all profits from Nike count towards the US GNP regardless of where they are located. And you should have a firm understanding of gross domestic product and gross national product. And if you do, we're rolling along. To the next video. Here we go, my friends.